AI systems are incredibly powerful, but, they have this massive appetite for data. And if that appetite isn't controlled, all that power can become a huge liability really fast. So let's dive into the 5 foundational data controls that are basically the essential guardrails for any AI system. This right here is the million-dollar question we're tackling today, because without the right controls in place, that's exactly what your AI can become. A system that's built to find patterns but ends up just memorizing and spitting out your most sensitive secrets. And the scale of this problem is, well, it's enormous. You see, unlike traditional apps, AI models get fed this huge mix of unstructured data. We're talking about everything from internal emails and database records to customer support transcripts. It's a goldmine of sensitive info, and the model's job is literally to learn from every single piece of it. So how do we even begin to manage this kind of risk? Well, that's where we bring in what I like to call the data guardians. These are 5 foundational controls that stand between your raw, sensitive data and the AI model, making sure it only gets what it needs safely and securely. Okay, let's start with our first line of defense. Think of anonymization and classification as the gatekeepers. They're the very first ones to inspect the data before it gets anywhere near your AI pipeline. First step is anonymization. The goal here is simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You want to sever the link between a piece of data and a specific person. This way, the AI can still learn from the what, but it can't know the who. And here's a perfect example of how it works in practice. We're not just deleting information, we're strategically making it more general. So John Smith becomes a generic user ID. His exact age becomes a range. See the trade-off? The data loses a little bit of precision, but it's still super useful for finding broad patterns, all while John's identity stays completely protected. So why is this so absolutely critical for AI? Because it directly blocks some very specific and nasty attacks. For instance, it stops something called membership inference, where a bad actor could try to figure out if your specific data was used to train the model. It basically stops the AI from ever being able to say, yep, I know exactly who you are. All right, our second guardian is data classification. If anonymization hides the who, then classification is all about identifying the what. It's simply the process of labeling your data based on how sensitive it is. You can think of it as putting big, clear warning labels on every single file and document you have. And we're talking about clear, no-nonsense labels: public, internal, confidential, and restricted. This simple act of tagging is what gives all our other security tools their intelligence. They know what to protect because this step tells them exactly what's valuable. And this is why it's a total non-negotiable for AI. These labels let you build automated rules, like a giant do not enter sign for your most sensitive data. You can set a policy that says data labeled restricted is never, ever allowed in a training pipeline. Boom, it stops the problem before it can even start. Okay, let's bring in our next pair of guardians and see how this all builds. Redaction and masking are your surgical tools. They go right into the data itself to remove or just obscure specific little pieces of sensitive information. Now, redaction is probably the one you're most familiar with. It's basically the digital version of taking a big black marker to a document. You're removing the sensitive text, but leaving all the surrounding useful information totally intact. I mean, just look at this example. The sentence still makes perfect sense, but that toxic piece of data, the social security number, is completely gone. This is so vital for preventing the AI from memorizing and then maybe leaking specific secrets it finds in the text. Now, masking, it's a little different. Instead of just removing the data, it replaces it with fake but structurally identical information. It's all about creating a plausible but totally non-real version of the data. So take this credit card number. Redaction would just get rid of it, but masking keeps the format so it still looks and acts like a real number. This is so crucial for testing because you can check your code's logic without ever touching a real customer's card. And that right there is the key role of masking. It creates a safe sandbox for your developers and your data scientists. They can build and test AI systems using data that behaves just like the real thing, which completely eliminates the risk of an accidental exposure in your development environments. So, we've saved the most important guardian for last. Seriously, if you only remember one control from this entire explainer, please make it this one: data minimization. This quote from the source material just hits the nail on the head, and the logic is just undeniable. You can't leak data you don't have. Every other control we've talked about deals with data you've already decided to handle. Minimization is about stopping that risk from ever even entering your system. This chart really shows the problem in a nutshell. The default way of doing things is to over-ingest. Just point the AI at an entire database and say, go learn. But as you can see, this creates a gigantic attack surface. Minimization completely flips that philosophy on its head. The principle is all about being ruthlessly selective. Before you feed any data to your AI, you have to ask, is every single field absolutely necessary for this specific task? And if the answer is anything but a hard yes, it doesn't go in, period. Now here's the thing. None of these guardians work in isolation. Their true power is unlocked when they all work together, forming an interlocking system we can call the data safety chain. And right here, you can see the power of that layered defense. Each guardian has a specific enemy it's designed to fight. Anonymization fights identity attacks. Classification is the wall against unauthorized access. Notice how each one kind of covers for the potential gaps in the others. It's not about picking one, it's about deploying all of them. This really shows you the ideal workflow, the safety chain in action. You start broad by anonymizing identities. Then you get more specific by classifying the data's sensitivity level. From there, you perform that surgery. By redacting secrets, you create safe copies by masking, and guiding the whole process is that core principle: minimize everything. And that brings us to the final and most critical question. This isn't just a list of nice-to-haves. These are essential requirements. So look at your own AI systems and ask yourself, are these 5 guardians standing watch over your data? Because if they're not, you might not just have a powerful AI, you might actually have an uncontrolled data leakage engine.